It's Overlord Day. What's going on, my beautiful viewers, and I'm back once again for another breakdown of Overlord, the Saga of Evil Season 4. I was really excited for this week because I thought we were going to get the scene that we got today, which was the Battle of E-Rantel. I don't know how to say it. And let's not sleep on Nigredo, her anime debut, and she looks glorious. She's exactly how I pictured her from the light novels. Like, they really did her justice. But I'm getting ahead of myself, guys. We are going to take a structured approach to this, no matter how hype I am, and I'm very, very hype. I'm just so excited to get this arc animated. So anyway, this episode picks up immediately following last week's episode with Albedo's visit to the Riestes Kingdom and the official declaration of war. So as expected, the Sorcerer Kingdom does not accept Ramposa's offer of peace and insists on having the war. The war will officially begin in 1 month. And I'm chuckling right now because, yeah, the Sorcerer Kingdom did not do that. So really a major thing that was cut out of the anime was actually the first real month of the war, which actually started immediately after the declaration. This move was actually suggested by Cocytus, and it was suggested in order to isolate the royal capital of Riestes and also cut off Riestes from the rest of its allies. So their plan is to conquer the eastern and northern territories of the Riestes Kingdom in order to block off their borders, in particular their border to the north with the Arglan Council State. At this point in the light novel, the Sorcerer Kingdom knows that there's likely something going on between Riestes and the Arglan Council State because the two nations are allied, and they believe that there's some sort of plan going on for them to unite against the Sorcerer Kingdom. So in order to prevent that from happening, they're trying to cut off the Riestes Kingdom from the Arglan Council State. They don't want any foreign intervention in this conflict, and the actions they take during this beginning month of the covert invasion do successfully cut off Riestes from the Arglan Council State. And also the fact that, looking at it diplomatically, Riestes were the people that started this conflict and, lit that initial spark. So it kind of dissuades the Arglan Council State from, acting on and continuing to push forward with this official alliance. So it basically fizzled out right there because of those actions. So in order for this covert invasion to work, they had to make sure that no information reached the royal capital or any of the western territories of Riestes. So basically every territory that the Sorcerer Kingdom conquered in the east and the north was massacred down to the last person. In the light novel, they described that the conflicts were so one-sided that they even decided to experiment with new battle tactics. In one of the battles, they used a bunch of elder leeches to just bombard a city and completely destroy it. In another city, they actually used their new frost dragons that had just recently submitted to them to airdrop undead paratroopers into a city. And then in another battle, Mare just completely flattened a city in one go. And Demiurge was in charge of preventing leaks. So basically he used his shadow demons anytime there was an attack or some sort of conquest to make sure that no one survived. And Demiurge was more than happy to perform that task. So during this time, and it's explained in the anime as well, Albedo used just the Sorcerer Kingdom's reputation in order to get several of the Riestes nobles on their side and to defect over and kind of help with keeping the information tight. Basically what they would do was take in refugees from the conquered territories and not allow them to leave their territory. So it basically just made sure no information made it westward towards the royal capital. So they kind of brushed over all that in the anime. They did mention it. It's just a lot more detailed than was explained in the anime. And also I felt people that hadn't read the light novel might be confused as to what's going on, because they said, oh, it's been 1 month since we declared war, but they had already done all this stuff. So then we have that scene with Nigredo, Pistonia, and Sebas. And this is Nigredo's anime debut, and I was really excited to see her in the show. So I explained Nigredo a little bit in my opening breakdown, but I'll go ahead and just repeat the explanation here. So Nigredo is an NPC, and she is what's referred to as an area guardian of the 5th floor. And area guardians in Nazarick are basically guardian NPCs that control certain areas of a floor. So in the hierarchy of this, you could see as Nigredo as being below Cocytus. Cocytus is the guardian of the entire floor, the 5th floor, and Nigredo is the area guardian of the frozen prison, which is her area. And in particular, Nigredo was also created by Tabula, and is the older sister of Albedo. As for her powers, she never really directly fights in the light novel as far as I remember, but she's a magic caster, and she has really good information gathering spells. They cut this from the anime, but in the light novel, she actually uses her information gathering spells in order to find Shalltear when she gets brainwashed. And in the light novel, she casts surveillance spells on all of Nazarek's forces during the whole Operation Gehenna in Season 2. And in the light novel, Ainz actually says that Nigredo is basically a specialized NPC that's like specifically for this kind of purpose. There is one difference in the anime I saw, in that in the light novel, her scissors, she does wield scissors as her weapon, but in the light novel, I believe they're just like regular size scissors that she uses daggers, whereas in this one, she has like kill size scissors. I just really liked Nigredo being brought to life in the anime. You can see some similarities between her and Albedo, like their hair especially is the one thing that's like almost exactly the same between them. They kind of have similar bodies too. Just the main thing about Nigredo, her most freaking noticeable aspect is she has no skin on her face. But despite this kind of horrific appearance, she is one of the few NPCs in Nazarick who actually like sympathizes with humans. And so basically this whole confrontation that comes about between Nigredo, Pistonia, Sebes, and Ainz is because these NPCs have become very upset by the actions of Nazarick and how they've just been massacring all these villages and territories in the Riestes kingdom. I just think this whole situation is interesting. And yes, the NPCs were created with these programmed feelings, to feel this way about humans. Like, that's just how they were made. They weren't made to be evil like that. Now, Negredo in particular is a little special because she in particular has affection for babies. She actually only cares about babies at all. I think I read once that she basically, if someone's older than 2, if a human's older than 2 years old, she doesn't care about them at all, but like while they're babies, she absolutely cares about them and she loves babies. So yeah, they were programmed to feel this way, but the fact of the matter is that they're all alive now, so you can't really view them as just like, oh, this is how they were made, so this is just how they are, because it's been shown in the show that they can change and they can like think for themselves and stuff like that. And so despite these NPCs all being fiercely loyal to Ainz and everything like that, I do really like how they're showing that, these NPCs disagree with what he's doing and they're actually upset by it. And I find that really interesting because, like Ainz says, this kind of feeling within Nazarick is an extreme minority. Most of the Nazarick denizens are evil as hell, but I just like the fact that they're showing there are conflicting personalities within Nazarick. Like, it's not all just smooth sails, let's do whatever, Ainz, Sasuga, I'm Sama. So moving on to the Battle of E-Rantel, I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know for sure. But this battle is interesting because this battle was basically to complete the encirclement of the royal capital in Riestes. And actually in the light novel it's explained that right before this battle, the information about the covert invasion had finally leaked out. Like, someone came into port in E-Rantel and, revealed that, hey, like, the Sorcerer Kingdom's already been invading for a while now. So they began, like, last-minute preparations, like, hearing about this. That's why they were actually prepared and ready for this invasion and everything like that. But a special thing about this battle, and I think it's kind of implied with a lot of the dialogue that goes on when they're discussing the battle before it begins, is that Ainz sent a lot less troops and a lot less high-ranking undead than he normally would for an attack like this. He did this as a result of the human sympathizers approaching him. Basically, he kind of saw this as giving them a fighting chance of surviving. But as shown in the anime, he has to do this somewhat discreetly because he doesn't want to upset any of the other NPCs and everything like that. So in this battle, we are introduced to the group 4 Armaments, which is a Mithril ranked adventurer group. So the only 2 members of this group that are actually named are Lilinet, which is the priest, and also Skama, Skama, I'm gonna call her Skama, the Targaryen looking girl, and man, they nailed nailed her design in the anime. I thought she looked great. There's one comment that Skama makes in the beginning of the fight, and I thought was funny, and she's just like, oh, they only sent 2 of them? Like, why would they only send 2 of them? Are these the trump cards? And it turns out, like, the Death Warrior, which is the dual bladed one, I think this is the first time we saw a Death Warrior, and the Death Knight, they're like freaking level 35 trash spawns that like Ainz can make. Ainz has like 1 million of them. Also, I may just be, you know, looking at this through jaded glasses or anything, but I thought the CGI kind of looked alright. It has looked a lot worse in Overlord. Like, the CGI in Overlord Season 3 was horrible. So I thought the CGI in this season looked a lot better. The CGI has improved. Did anyone else think that? But that fight between the Death Knight and 4 Armaments, I thought that was really cool. It's really cool to see party combat again in Overlord. You know, we haven't seen any of that since, I think, not since Foresight in Season 3. And while they were struggling against a level 35 summon, you know, level 35 is really strong in the new world, so that's something. I don't think I need to comment too much or fill in any blanks with that fight. I just wanted to praise it because I thought it was very well done. And then we have the appearance of that red flying armor with the freaking Glocky, which was like, I remember when I first read that and I was like, a gun? Like, who has a gun?
For his neutral special, he wields a gun.
So I'm going to leave the person that is in that armor as a secret. I won't spoil that. However, I will go on to explain something about that armor, in that clearly, you know, you have a gun, you have a freaking Gundam. Clearly, I think it's obvious to say that those are Yggdrasil items. And as established and said by 4 Armaments in this episode, that the wielder of those items is a member of the Adamant-type group Red Drop. The subtitle said Vermilion Drop on Crunchyroll, but I've always known them as Red Drop, so I'm just going to keep calling them Red Drop. And as I've said before, Red Drop is one of only 3 Adamant-type ranked groups in the Riestes Kingdom, the other 2 being Blue Roses, which is Lachius's group, and Darkness, which is Momont's group. And so this Red Drop guy is pretty strong, especially for a New Worlder, because, you know, as stated by Ainz in the previous arc, you know, you'd have to be around level 45 in order to, like, instantly kill, you know, a couple of level 35 summons. Now, granted, the Death Knight had sustained some damage, you know, beforehand, but, you know, he took out the Death Warrior in like a few seconds, so clearly, for as far as New World standards go, this guy, the armor, are really strong. And so there were other undead as a part of this army, but they were mainly just zombies, and zombies are at extremely low level undead, even to New World standards. They're pretty weak. So this battle ends as a victory for Riestes. But this loss wasn't really a big deal to Ainz, because as he said when he channeled Light Yagami, exactly as planned, and unlike previous times, as I mentioned before, he actually did plan on the possibility of them losing this fight, so he's not just faking it to sound smart this time. This arc is like the arc of reverse Ainzisms, like him actually deducing the true cause of why they attacked their transports. But with this battle and also the information of the covert invasion getting out, the war with the Riestes Kingdom enters its next phase, which is going to be so exciting. But basically, guys, this was just the scraps, the beginning appetizer, if you will, of what is to come in this arc of Overlord. I was particularly excited for this episode, mainly because we were going to get a somewhat even fight in this episode between 4 Armaments and the Death Knight. In the last arc and the arc before that, all the fights involved the level 100 characters, so they were completely one-sided. So guys, that pretty much wraps up my episode breakdown of Overlord Season 4, Episode 9. So the main thing they omitted from this episode was the details around the covert invasion that happened during the first month. I was very excited to see new characters, as well as seeing some action is always great. But yeah, guys, this is the beginning of the war. It's only entering its next stage now. Now that the information's coming out, there's been a victory, if you want to call it that, on the Riestes side, and things are going to be happening politically, militarily, and I'm just so excited for this. And this just goes to show you why Overlord is so good and why I love it so much, is that every action that Ainz takes has this rippling effect throughout the world, and he fundamentally changes the world he's in, as opposed to so many other isekai protagonists, and that's just what makes Overlord such a great isekai anime in anime itself. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button to let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you think of this episode of Overlord? Did you guys follow what was going on with the covert invasion? If you didn't, let me know. And if you aren't already, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out more than you know, and it'll let you know when I post in the future if you hit that bell icon. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching to the very end of the video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.